Was this secretly Jack Nicholson's audition to play Waluigi?
Yes.
Hey, Jimmy Hoffa, we need to take down the people.
I really I don't know. I wouldn't say I hated what he's doing, but I was confused by a lot of what he was doing.
I don't think I vibed with it. I had fun with it, but I don't know if I think it's a good performance.
I don't think it's a good performance. I think it's a big performance, though. He's going for the fences on it. And you're like, Jack, what are you doing? Like, there's two kinds of Jack
All the
Nicholson
people
going
down
big.
there in Washington, they need to think about these things. Yeah.
Really, it is that. It's just like, there are two kinds of big Jack Nicholson performances. There's him doing the Joker in Batman 89, where I think that's a great big performance, where he's going big, but it's like perfect for the part. And then there's whatever he's doing here, where you're like, this doesn't feel necessary at all.
There's way more types of big Jack Nicholson performances. Right. It's Nicholson. He goes big a lot.
Nicholson's just big, but which is fine. He's a great actor.
Yeah. Like I feel like The Shining is a big performance.
That's true. It is, and I think he wasn't nominated for the Razzie, but that movie got nominated for a lot of Razzies, very unfairly. That movie's great, but
that was the first Razzies.
True. Shelley Duvall won, didn't she? Because that's a little
because they like rescinded her Razzie win, didn't they? Like they took it back.
And I think so. They've taken things back a lot, because the Razzies are stupid. But
yeah. The Razzies, like, as much fun as we make of the Oscars, the Razzies are worse. Because they don't know whether or not they want to be a joke or they want to be serious. And so they kind of try to be both, and it's very stupid.
I think the big thing with award shows is that, like, when you look at all of them, I think the Oscars you can actually look at as probably one of the more legitimate ones that you can look at, where, like, even if they get it wrong on the award, the process, the production, the presentation is all consistently well done enough where you can look at that and be like, that's a legitimate award that you can put on your resume and not have it be bullshit. Whereas you look at the Grammys are utter bullshit. Like, they're the biggest thing you can get in music, but, like, when you have artists who are fully just like, I don't care if the Grammys nominate me, and they're the biggest names in the history of the music industry, they're like, I don't care about a Grammy. Like, and not in the I don't care about a Grammy. It legitimately, like, the Grammys are a joke, so why would I go? Like, The Weeknd was like, fuck the Grammys. Elton John says fuck the Grammys. Like, the Grammys are an absolute joke.
There is a Simpsons joke where Homer tips, like, the bellboy with his Grammy because he's depressed, and the bellboy is like, oh boy, an entertainment award. Oh, it's a Grammy, and he chucks it out the window.
True, the Grammys mean nothing.
Hey, bud, don't throw your trash down here.
It's wild. Like, of all the awards, I'd say the Oscars are the most prestigious, but, like, the Tonys mean something usually.
I almost feel like the Tonys are more prestigious than the Oscars.
I mean, to actors, yes. Actors would rather have a Tony than an Oscar any day, because the Tonys are, like, so acting heavy of awards. Like, they're done by, like, the stars of Broadway are the real stars of the Tonys, so, like, I get why an actor would want a Tony more. But, like, I think the moment where the Tonys made me at least go, I think the Oscars passed you in terms of, like, qualifications and, like, prestige, is the moment that they just gave Aaron Tveit a Tony when there were people in the field that could have been nominated up against them. They were like, we're just going to give Aaron the Tony.
Good point.
That one, that's probably the one where I'm like, the Tonys didn't even try on that one. The Emmys, I think, are pretty solid consistently too. So
yeah, I think the problem I think that's the problem with the Emmys is it's, like, hard to even qualify because you got, like, the primetime Emmys and you have the creative arts Emmys and you have the daytime Emmys, and it's like, what counts as an actual thing and what is something that you just hand out like they're candy.
Right. It's like if you were to play the game of, like, how do I win an EGOT? You start at the Emmy. The Emmy is the easiest thing you can get. You can like produce one special on a daytime, like, news segment and win an Emmy.
If your goal in life is to win an Emmy or win an EGOT, you win an Emmy and you do that. And then you take your clout, you got your little clout you get from winning an Emmy, and then you produce a spoken word album.
True.
and you do that once a year until the Grammys don't have any super duper famous people like Obama or Oprah in the category who haven't won a Grammy yet. And then you win a Grammy. And then you take the clout that you've got from your Emmy and your Grammy, and you make a film about, you make a short film.
Yeah.
You make a short film, and now that you're like kind of a semi-known name, if you're nominated in the short film category, you are probably going to win that category because of your name. So then you win the short film Oscar, and then you have to get really good at. I know.
Well,
then you just produce the Broadway play.
Exactly. Just take the money from the 3 things you just made and put up the funds to be the producer of a Broadway musical. And then when that ends up being the biggest musical of the season and wins Best Musical, you become an EGOT in the most bullshit roundabout way. That is the most like easy bullshit way around to getting an EGOT by like that's basically like becoming an EGOT on a technicality. Like that's
it would
kind
be
of funny.
so funny if some like C-D-list celebrity just decided they were gonna try to be an EGOT and just did it through that method. That would kind of be amazing.
Well, imagine not a C or D-lister, but I could see like watch Riz Ahmed become an EGOT because he won his Oscar. He probably has an Emmy. He'll probably do a spoken word Grammy win, and he's famous enough and a good enough actor that he can go be in a play and win a Tony.
Yeah.
So like Riz Ahmed could straight up be an EGOT winner through the technicality of the spoken word Grammy. Which Al Pacino needs his Grammy. Al Pacino's the only like one of those EGOT people who just needs a Grammy to win. And he's made at least 8 spoken word albums and hasn't won yet.
Hey everybody, this is Rhyme and Rhymes with Al Pacino.
Speaking of rap album.
What?
Oh my god, if Al Pacino did a rap album, it'd be the funniest thing ever. But I was gonna say, speaking of Al Pacino, we're talking Hoffa. That's Caleb Boatman.
And that is Caleb Coho. This is FilmograFeed. We're 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the show, and we hadn't finished the introduction.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We're not going to have a lot to say about the movie Hoffa.
They really aren't. So, you just want to do context? Because this is the first one where there's context, kind of?
Go ahead with the context.
Okay. So, like, in the 80s, the screenplay called The Jimmy Hoffa Story got written by a guy named Robin Moore. And Hoffa's attorney, Frank Regnero, was the consultant on it. The script was then renamed.
Go missing?
You would think, but no. It instead was renamed Hoffa. And it was supposed to film in the spring of '84. It would not be until 1989 when a group of producers who produced this movie bought more screenplay and hired David Mamet to do a page 1 rewrite for $1 million. Original choice
at this point, I guess David Mamet's a big play name still
at this point. David Mamet has won the Tony for Glengarry Glen Ross.
Okay, fair enough.
And he's written House of Games, and he's done a lot of the things where you're like, this is David Mamet. And the same year that this comes out, Glengarry Glen Ross, the movie comes out. So Mamet has 2 movies that make a pretty big impression.
Well, and he does The Untouchables. And he had already been nominated for an Oscar because of The Verdict.
Right, and The Verdict. So, like, Mamet is Mamet at this point. So they gave him $1 million to do it. The first 3 choices to direct the film were Barry Levinson, Oliver Stone, and John McTiernan.
Okay, I want to give my opinions on all 3 of those.
Okay.
Starting with John McTiernan, it would be actually really interesting to see what a non-action blockbuster John McTiernan movie looks like. Like that I would actually be very curious about that. I don't know if it would be good, but I'd be very curious about what that would look like.
I can see entirely why Stone turned it down.
What?
I can see why Stone turned this down because he had already, at this point, he had either just made or was in the process of making JFK, which is like all you need to do. And then he makes Nixon after that. So like I'm done with one name, initial Oliver Stone political biopics. Like,
well, at the same time, it's like I don't want Oliver Stone's Hoffa. I really don't want an Oliver Stone Hoffa movie. I think he would get like so like bogged down in like the conspiracy rabbit hole, for lack of a better word, and it would just become like a really like obnoxious movie.
Here's exactly what Hoffa would have been. Hoffa would have been done from the perspective of the present day and would keep flashing back through the life of Jimmy Hoffa as Kevin Costner is unraveling the conspiracy of the murder of Jimmy Hoffa. That would be the movie. 100%.
Yeah, pretty much. No, some guy would just be playing like Oliver Stone. Or no, Oliver Stone would be playing himself unraveling the mystery of Jimmy Hoffa.
So here's the thing. If he adaptationed himself, I would watch it.
That would actually be really cool.
But I feel like I've just seen the Jimmy Hoffa story done by Oliver Stone through other people that aren't Jimmy Hoffa. And then Barry Levinson, I would think would have been.
I think Levinson would have made a better version of this movie.
True.
I think Levinson would have killed it.
I think
because he's just great at this era.
Yeah. At this point, Levinson's on a run. So
he was very much on a run in this era, and we should have been watching those movies that he made during this era. But we didn't.
Levinson was the front runner. And he turned it down because David Mamet refused to make script changes. Levinson was like, I want to do some rewrites and help make the script better because that's what Levinson does. And Mamet's like, go fuck yourself. Like, David Mamet's David Mamet. David Mamet and Aaron Sorkin are very similar in the sense of, this is my script, don't touch my script. Let my script be itself because it's great. And Levinson's like, I want to like fix your script a bit and make it better because let's be honest, Mamet, this isn't one of your best work. And Levinson was basically told no. So he said no. They then decided to hire Danny DeVito. Obvious fourth choice for this movie. I don't know where Danny DeVito came into the picture, but they were just like, yeah, Barry Levinson, Oliver Stone, John McTiernan, and Danny DeVito. Those are the choices for the best choice to direct a Hoffa movie. And then what's funny is the final four choices to play. Oh, he froze. I'm gonna pause for a second. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna pause for a second while I make sure Boat's coming back. Because this is interesting. Interesting context here on FilmograFeed. I like having the context segment finally for a while. Anyway, hey Mike, I think you're probably gonna have to do an edit. But in case you don't, thank you to all who are watching. I know Cody Newberry pops in from time to time. Appreciate your view. While we talk about DeVito. I know it's been a little bit off schedule, busy lives. So there he is. Where did I lose you?
I don't exactly know.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know if I'm fully back.
Leave it. Come back.
Okay.
All right. Mike, I'm gonna give you like a real clean cut. So I'm gonna start at the comment where I made about Danny DeVito coming into the picture and then doing the directors. I'll give you a very clean cut. So, anywho, so much for this being a short episode. Probably still will. We don't have a lot to talk about. This movie's very bland. So yeah. Oh well. Hello, Chip. My dog has joined the chat. So go. Enjoy.
I'm
good thing. My dog watching.
Hi, Chip.
Okay. So I already told Mike in the video where to cut. We're gonna have to tell Mike that we didn't edit, but so I'm gonna come back exactly where I want you to pick up that. So. So then Danny DeVito comes into the picture. A very natural progression. Barry Levinson, Oliver Stone, John McTiernan, Danny DeVito. I think they just kind of ran out of options at the director. But the finalists for Best Actor come down to 4 people. Jack Nicholson, who does end up winning the part. And the other 3 choices are Kevin Spacey, Robert De Niro, and Al Pacino are the final 4 to play Jimmy Hoffa in the Hoffa biopic. And it ends up being Nicholson, because I don't know why DeVito was just like, yeah, Nicholson's the guy I want for this one. Probably because they go back to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Probably just like, my guy Jack, I'm gonna bring him on and direct him in a movie. It's funny that De Niro and Pacino are both in the finals for it, considering both are going to be in The Irishman years later. And it's funny that like Pacino could have probably. Here's the thing: if Pacino was in this movie, he probably doesn't win the Oscar for playing Hoffa in it. But like in the year where he wins Scent of a Woman and is nominated for Glengarry Glen Ross the same year, if you sub out Scent of a Woman for Hoffa, do you think he still wins Best Actor in that year? I don't know. If he's doing the exact same performance.
He gives a similar performance. If he basically gives the exact same performance in Hoffa that he does in The Irishman. I actually think he does, and I think a more well-remembered Oscar win.
That's true. If he does give the same performance to The Irishman just in a Hoffa movie as the lead, I don't think that movie is well-remembered, but the performance would be. Though we can stand by, I'm glad we got to see him do it, and I'm glad we got to see him do it in the Scorsese movie. And there's going to be a lot of comparisons to The Irishman tonight. What else was there? DeVito was able to get $50 million to make the movie, like for the budget, by giving up his salary as a director and signing as the co-guarantor for the film. He was like, I need $50 million to make it. And they were like, no. And he's like, all right, well, then don't pay me, and I will put my own money up. I bet he regrets that, because I don't think this movie made any money. And then, they delayed it because their commitments to other films, and they had a whole bunch of issues. They filmed in LA, in Detroit, and then it got a lot of controversy before its release, because DeVito said that he saw Jimmy Hoffa as a personal hero, which I think is kind of wild. Wild with Danny DeVito. It's like Hoffa's a hero.
Especially like when you watch this movie, because I didn't necessarily get that vibe from it, but it kind of, now things make a little more sense, and I actually think that maybe uncovers the big problem with the movie, which is that the movie is a little too tame with Hoffa.
True. And so then the Hoffa family did not give their permission for the movie, but James P. Hoffa says that he loved it, thinking Nicholson should have won the Oscar that year. The film's portrayal of Hoffa's disappearance.
Give me an Oscar! The Teamsters! Give me an Oscar! Hey!
Like, clearly, as you can see, Hoffa's disappearance is very different in the movie from what we know of it in real life. And they go through all the differences in this little article here. But the big one that says the location of the murder is unknown, but any violence in a parking lot would have attracted attention from potential witnesses and left evidence that could have been used by the police to find out who killed Jimmy Hoffa. I'm like, good point. Thank you, article, for pointing out why this movie's ending is bullshit. Anyway.
To be fair, I will say, even though it makes no sense, I like this ending. I like Frank Wally being like, here's your coffee, Jimmy. But then it gets really stupid when you get the slow-mo shot of Danny DeVito running.
We're just like... With all okay, but also can we talk about how this movie is an Oscar-nominated movie in a category that I kind of laugh at, that they nominated this movie for Best Hair and Makeup when this movie's hair and makeup is we spray painted DeVito's hair gray and it looks like a matte painting.
No, it's Nicholson's nose. That's the
I'm aware. I'm aware of Nicholson's nose, but a part of that has to also be DeVito's like spray painted felt gray
to be
hair.
fair, you gotta remember the category was just best makeup, not best hair and makeup at the time.
Fair.
So they didn't consider that part of it. It was literally just we gave Nicholson a big nose.
Fair. Nicholson's nose is ridiculous. It is stupid.
It is very distracting. He looks like somebody from Dick Tracy. He looks like Dick Tracy character.
The first time I saw him with the nose, I was like, "Is this Cyrano de Bergerac? Is this what we're gonna do?" It's just Jack Nicholson's gangster Cyrano is the third act of this movie. Is what we're about to get.
I would totally watch a Cyrano de Bergerac adaptation set in the 1920s gangster scene.
That's a great idea, $1 million idea, actually. We should probably hold on to that one. But no, that's I would watch it. Also, fun fact for cameos, which I'm sure you knew, is that Bruno Kirby, Jon Favreau, and Tim Burton all have cameos in this film. Yeah. Jon Favreau is a random extra. Bruno Kirby is a nightclub comedian. Tim Burton is a corpse, which some would say is just his real look. So there you go. But yeah, there's not really much else context to it. The movie, we'll talk about the box office later, but I don't know. I think it's fine. This movie's fine, I guess. I don't know. There's not much to it. Okay, so my big thing with this movie, I think it's fine. I think this movie ends up being, like you said, too tame to Jimmy Hoffa, but also I don't think it has a take. It just doesn't have a take on Hoffa. It doesn't have a take on what it wants to be. I don't know if I should keep going. Mike, I'm going to cut again, and we'll just go back, because I feel like we're just talking about Boatman, but, oh well.
I'm back again. Sorry.
Okay, you're good. So, I think this movie's fine. I think that on the whole, I think the issue with this movie, like you said, is just too tame on Hoffa, and it's also, I just feel like it doesn't have a take. Like, I feel like DeVito doesn't know what he wants to say or do with Jimmy Hoffa. It feels very cut and dry attempt at telling the life story of Jimmy Hoffa. And if we're gonna go Jimmy Hoffa for Jimmy Hoffa story, I think that The Irishman obviously does it way better years later, which isn't. It's not fair to Hoffa that The Irishman exists, but it does, and it taints our view of Hoffa as a movie. So. I don't know if you're frozen still or if you're.
I'm here. I was listening, and then you caught up to the future. Okay. Hello.
There we go.
Am I alive?
You are good.
Okay. I heard basically everything you said, though.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just come back here.
Oh gosh, dang it! Every time I start to cut in, then you get choppy for me. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. I guess my thing about this movie. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. The movie doesn't really know what it wants to say, and I think that's the biggest problem with it. Is it just is kind of. Here's a bunch of things that happen. But, I guess the thing I like about the movie is even though it is basically just a bunch of things, it goes really big with it, better or worse. And I did find it kind of entertaining because of just how grandiose it was. I think DeVito actually, on a technical level, directs this really well. I think this movie is actually pretty well done from a technical standpoint. I just like his art direction and specifically his backgrounds. I just really like the way his movies look. But I think I have the same problem with this movie that you did with War of the Roses. I don't understand why DeVito's character was here.
Oh, I'm with you on that one too.
I think we needed to, like, what was the point of having, like, this could have just been a Hoffa movie, and we didn't even need DeVito in this story. It really just felt like he was shoehorned in for no reason.
It really feels like DeVito was like, we need an audience insert, and I want to play the audience insert because I need to be in all my movies. And he like created what the Frank Sheeran character would be, but like it's still a movie from the perspective of Jimmy Hoffa, even though this character is like the co-protagonist that we're supposed to like view Hoffa through, and it doesn't work at all. This character is completely unnecessary, has no characteristic or personality of his own. DeVito adds nothing, and also it's so weird, like knowing that DeVito views Hoffa as a hero makes that character even more like a hero worship decision, where he's like, I just want to be in every scene with Jimmy Hoffa, like being witness to the greatness that is this person. But then the movie doesn't even give Hoffa those greatness moments. It's really weird. It's I don't love it. I think the only part of this movie where I was even semi like, okay, are we about to do something cool? We're about to cook with gas, is when you get Hoffa versus Kennedy in the back and forth when they're talking about communism. I think that's the only part where this really starts to cook for me. Where then Kennedy's
like the scenes with Alan Alda in The Aviator is the best stuff in this movie. But here's my thing with it, though. I think the guy who they get to play Bobby Kennedy is doing not a great job.
Oh, no. Kevin Anderson is bad.
Yeah.
Kevin Anderson is giving a bad performance as Robert Kennedy, and you totally needed, like, you could tell they blew the budget on Nicholson. Like, the whole budget was getting Jack Nicholson to the movie. And that's what sucks, because then you look at, like, the rest of the cast, and while, like, some of them are, like, John C. Reilly is a good actor and doing a fine job in his part in this movie, at the time, he's not John C. Reilly really yet. So
you know who should have played Bobby Kennedy, who I think legitimately would have killed it? Rob Lowe.
Oh, he'd have been great.
Rob Lowe should have just played. Why did Rob Lowe never get to play either Kennedy in a movie?
That's weird. It's true.
He really would have been perfect for either JFK or Bobby. He could have played either of them, and he would have been great. I don't know why he didn't get to play either Kennedy. That's actually a really weird decision.
It is weird. And I think that's my issue. Another issue I have with this movie is when you go through all the different like roles in the movie and just how barren this cast is outside of Nicholson, DeVito, and really just John C. Reilly.
I like J.T. Walsh. I do really like J.T. Walsh in this movie. I just like J.T. Walsh in general, though.
I mean, he's fine. I don't know. I guess I don't have like, but he's not really my explicit problem with the cast. I just don't. Right. He's nothing to me. He's fine. But like when I look at it, it's like this feels like a movie down to the cast, the budget, the direction, all of it. That feels like the Lifetime version of Jimmy Hoffa, and it feels like it's the Lifetime version of The Irishman when I watch it, and it sucks because again, The Irishman didn't
production. I think this movie actually looks very good.
It looks okay. Like I think it looks fine. I don't think it looks too amazing. I think my big issue is just like I don't know. It feels cheap. This movie looks and feels very cheap to me, which is my problem with a lot of DeVito's movies. But some of his stuff, it's like he doesn't need to be big, so it's fine. DeVito can work on a budget. But like for $50 million, this movie doesn't. I don't know where the money went with $50 million budget.
I feel very confident that like
I'm sure. Yeah,
half of that 50 went to Jack.
I'm sure 25 went to getting Jack Nicholson in the movie, but like the rest of the movie made for 25 million. I don't know. The movie does not feel like a $50 million movie in 1992 at all. Like the budget is really big for a movie that doesn't feel very big.
I agree. All right. Do we have much else to say about this movie?
I don't know. I mean, we kind of already touched on the end. Like the story of Hoffa from the perspective of Hoffa is not as interesting as doing what they do in The Irishman at all.
Yeah, no.
So like it's just
I agree. I almost thought that DeVito was gonna be revealed to be like in this version the one
Frank Sheeran.
Like I thought he was gonna be like the Frank Sheeran character and was gonna end up killing him. And then it's just Frank Wally, who is only a character only introduced in order to be the twist that kills Jimmy Hoffa.
Right, which is funny. His character's name's also Frank. So
that is funny. Interesting. Look at the big brain on bread.
But I don't know. I just like I don't know. I just think like the movie has nothing to say, and there's therefore nothing much for us to say. This is a very long movie for really no reason. A
Mhm.
lot of this, it's like, oh, it's all here because it's important to tell this for Hoffa's life. This has happened. It would make for good drama, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. None of this makes for good drama, Danny. You could have cut like 45 minutes of this movie out. I don't need about 45 minutes of this movie. A lot of this just feels bland. Like it just feels too broad. This movie is too broad of a brush to paint on someone so big. And Scorsese does it better, where it's like in 4 hours, I'm capturing the full lives of 3 different people, the biggest of which is Jimmy Hoffa. And it's
Mhm.
like that I like. I think Scorsese, which like DeVito's not in the same conversation as Martin Scorsese as a director, but like so it's again, it's unfair to compare The Irishman to Hoffa, but we're stuck in that situation where Hoffa is just exponentially ruined by the existence of The Irishman. So it's hard, but I don't know. The movie's
It's like how Jobs is hurt by Steve Jobs coming out. It's like
right.
how I don't know. I'm trying to think of another like middling biopic that kind of just gets eviscerated by a later biopic comes out. I don't know.
Right.
But
I don't know.
anyway,
There's
like
examples of it, I guess. I don't
yeah.
know. Like I just think it's tough. But anyway, the movie comes out Christmas 1992, and debuts to $6.4 million opening weekend, for a budget of which they say the production budget is $35 million on Hoffa. Apparently, I think they took Nicholson's salary out of it, so the movie really cost about $35 million to make. But it made about $6 million opening Christmas weekend in 1992. Um, it was
I'm gonna look up what it opened against.
Oh, I was about to tell you. Nicholson is pissed because it opened against A Few Good Men. Few Good
Oh,
Men comes out the same weekend, and Nicholson is fuming because he's like, both my movies came out the same day and one cannibalized the other. And he thinks that's like a terrible. He said the movie sucked because Columbia moved A Few Good Men to the same day. It comes out to very mixed reviews. Um, everyone was
Ebert
like,
liked it. Ebert liked it a lot.
that's wild. I was about to get there. Yeah, he gives it 3.5 out of 4. Here's a movie that finds the right look and tone for its material. Not many directors would have been confident enough to simply show us Jimmy Hoffa instead of telling us about him. This is a movie that makes its points between the lines in what is not said. It's not so much about what happened to Hoffa as about the fact that something eventually would. That is a ridiculous review, Roger Ebert. But anyway, what was the other one? Someone here also. Oh, Peter Travers of Rolling Stone gave it 3.5 also, and said some crazy shit about the changeover might constrict another actor, not Jack Nicholson. It's a laconic, enigmatic piece of work displaying the grace with the spoken language that marked Glengarry Glen Ross, but troublesome in terms of structure and character development. LA Times says. Anyway,
Does it say what Siskel said?
what's Siskel say?
No, I was out.
I don't have Siskel's comments
Okay,
on it.
fair enough. They usually don't bother writing Siskel in the Wikipedia unless he says something particularly interesting.
True.
Siskel, like, I was watching this interview where Ebert and Siskel were talking to each other. We're like talking about each other. And basically, they basically admitted that Siskel is a better reporter than Ebert is. But Ebert is a better writer and essayist than Siskel is.
Interesting.
And like Siskel admitted that and Ebert admitted that. Like, yeah, no, Gene is a better reporter than I am. And Siskel's like, and Ebert is a better essayist. I like his writing is more interesting to read than my writing is. So I think that's actually really interesting and self-aware of them to make that distinction.
That's fair. When it comes to the awards, Hoffa's nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Makeup and Best Cinematography, losing to Bram Stoker's Dracula and A River Runs Through It. The film,
I forgot A River Runs Through It is what won cinematography that year.
Weird.
That's wild.
If you want to see exactly how divided critics were, Jack Nicholson was nominated for a Golden Globe and a Razzie in the same year for playing Jimmy Hoffa. At the Golden Globes, he loses to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman, nominated alongside Denzel for Malcolm X, Tom Cruise for A Few Good Men, and Robert Downey Jr. for Chaplin. He is the only nomination for Hoffa at the Golden Globes, I believe. At the Golden Raspberries, he loses Worst Actor to Sylvester Stallone for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Also nominated for Worst Director, Danny DeVito for Hoffa. Danny DeVito is also nominated for the Razzie for Worst Supporting Actor for Batman Returns. Funny enough. So DeVito really.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is, look, like, I'm sorry. Say what you will about Batman Returns. I get not everybody likes that movie. DeVito is doing exactly what that script calls him to do. And he is selling it, and he is what makes that character work. He is great in that movie.
So, just for fun, because the Razzies don't have a lot of categories, I just wanted to give you a look at what the worsted movies were this year. Worst original song went to High Times, Hard Times from Newsies. Worst new star went to Pauly Shore for Encino Man.
Okay, that's actually correct.
Beating out Whitney Houston for The Bodyguard and Kevin Costner's Crew Cut for The Bodyguard. Worst screenplay went to Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Worst director went to David Seltzer for Shining Through, beating out Danny DeVito for Hoffa, John Glenn for Christopher Columbus: The Discovery, Barry Levinson for Toys, and Kenny Ortega for Newsies.
Don't mess with my boy Kenny. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that.
Where supporting actress went to Estelle Getty for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Beating out Jeanne Triplehorn for Basic Instinct and Anne Margaret for Newsies.
Wow, somebody for Basic Instinct. That's funny.
Worst supporting actor went to Tom Selleck for Christopher Columbus: The Discovery, beating DeVito for Batman Returns, Alan Alda for Whispers in the Dark, Marlon Brando for Christopher Columbus: The Discovery, and Robert Duvall for Newsies. They really did not like Newsies.
Duvall's actually good in Newsies, so that's a little wild. I actually like Duvall in Newsies.
Worst actress went to Melanie Griffith for both Shining Through and A Stranger Among Us.
Yeah, they would do that sometimes. It was weird.
Beating Kim Basinger for Cool World and Final Analysis, Lorraine Bracco for Medicine Man and Traces of Red, Whitney Houston for The Bodyguard, Sean Young, Love and Crimes. Stallone beat Kevin Costner for The Bodyguard, Michael Douglas for Basic Instinct, Nicholson for Hoffa, and Tom Selleck for Folks, and Shining Through won Worst Picture, beating The Bodyguard and Newsies, which was also nominated for Worst Picture. Weird enough. So
they did not like Newsies. I think that's such a weird movie to like be very aggressive on.
Right, that movie's like not good, but it's not awful.
It's like it's very much a nothing burger. Like
it exists. I don't know.
Here's my big problem with Newsies. I think Newsies would have been way better if like a 2009, 2010 Kenny Ortega directed it. Because the big problem with Newsies is that it's an over-the-top vibe to it, but the sets and production design look realistic. It should feel and look the same way that High School Musical 3 does. Because I'm going to say this, and I will say this on call for the record. High School Musical 3 is an incredibly well-directed movie. Kenny Ortega is doing a phenomenal job directing HSM 3.
That's true. Yeah. But anyway,
ranking?
The ranking. I put it worst. I don't.
I think we have the same ranking still. 3.
War of the Roses.
Hoffa,
Mama for the
2. Throw Mama. 1. War of the Roses. I feel like next week is where our ranking could differ, because next week we are talking Matilda, what some would argue is DeVito's best movie,
which I have never seen.
Coho has never seen it. This could be interesting. And I will say this, I'm not confident it's going to happen. So there's like a 50-50 shot. Hopefully, if schedules work out, we will be getting one Kelly Meehan to join us to talk about this movie because she loves it. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. So, as always, That is Caleb Coe. I'm Caleb Boatman. Thank you, the video store. We never changed the banner. We kept it as the Payson thing. I forgot to change it. Oh well. Have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.